Good morning and welcome to Dallas ISD Live Forum about the 2014 State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, or STAAR. My name is Mari Carmen Heroles and I'm with the Office of Family and Community Engagement. We're glad you were able to join us for this live forum, whether you're at home or at one of the viewing events at 25 of our schools. We're here to answer all your questions about STAAR, so make sure you call us or email us at any time during the forum. Call us at 972-925-3123 or send an email from the online form that you can find at www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. You can send those questions in English or Spanish. Buenos días y bienvenidos al foro en vivo del Dallas ISD acerca de la administración del State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, o STAAR, del 2014. Mi nombre es Mari Carmen Heroles y trabajo con la Oficina de Enlace con la Familia y la Comunidad. Nos da gusto que nos acompañen el día de hoy desde su casa o desde uno de los eventos que se están llevando a cabo en 25 de nuestras escuelas. Estamos aquí para responder a sus preguntas acerca del STAAR, así que no olvide llamarnos o mandarnos un correo electrónico durante el foro. Puede llamarnos al 972-925-3123 o mandar un correo a través de la forma que se encuentra en la página de internet del distrito en www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. Puede hacer sus preguntas en inglés o en español. Today's panel of experts on STAAR includes Cecilia Oakley, Assistant Superintendent of Evaluation and Assessment, Didi Lozano, Director of STEM, Barbara Thomas, Director of Social Studies, Sima Tajura, Director of Reading Language Arts, Ileana Gomez Murillo with MLEP, and Louis Hemphill with Special Education. We're going to start the program with a brief overview of STAAR and the changes students are seeing in the administration of the test. After that, we will answer questions that have been previously submitted and any questions that come in during the program. Vamos a comenzar el programa con una presentación acerca de STAAR y algunos de los cambios que se han implementado. Después responderemos a las preguntas que se han hecho antes y las que ustedes hagan durante el programa. La presentación es en inglés con subtítulos en español. This spring marks the third time that students in Dallas ISD and throughout the state of Texas will take the State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, or STAAR. The test was designed to be more rigorous than previous state assessments and to be able to better measure whether students have the necessary command of the knowledge and skills they will need to be successful in subsequent grades. We want to talk to you about some of the details for the 2014 STAAR. But first, we want to talk to you about how to use the STAAR Confidential Student Report to help your child prepare for this year's assessments. Results for last year's STAAR tests were sent to the students' schools. Parents also received a copy of the confidential report, which shows how students perform on the tests. If you haven't done so already, we encourage you to review your child's test results from last year to identify where he or she is doing well and where he or she needs to improve. The STAAR assessments have three categories for performance. Level 1, which is unsatisfactory academic performance. Level 2, which is satisfactory academic performance. And Level 3, which is advanced academic performance. Your child's performance level is indicated for each assessment he or she took. Satisfactory performance indicates that your child's results on the exam were at or above passing. It means that your child is sufficiently prepared for the next grade and is likely to be successful in that grade. However, you might want to speak with your child's teacher to develop strategies for additional help so that your child can perform at a higher level. If your child's confidential student report shows that he or she performed at an advanced level, it means that the results of the tests were well above passing and that the student will be well prepared for the next grade and is highly likely to be successful in that grade. This level is what we refer to as a college-ready level. If your child did not reach at least a level of satisfactory performance, it means that he or she performed below the passing standards and will not be prepared for the next grade and will likely not do well in that grade without additional and significant instructional support. Most in 3rd through 8th grades and those who are in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grades for the first time will take the first set of STAAR exams for this year very soon. Students who started high school before the 2011-2012 school year will continue to take the TAKS. In the coming weeks, Students will take the STAAR exams for reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. And students who are in high school will take the STAAR end-of-course exams that correspond to the subjects they have studied this year. A testing calendar is available on the STAAR page of the district's website. As they progress through high school, students will take 5 end-of-course exams: English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History. As I told you before, students will take the exam for the subject that they're learning in a particular year. For example, a 9th grader will likely take the English 1, Algebra 1, and Biology end-of-course exams if he or she is enrolled in those classes. As you know, one of the biggest changes the STAAR brought about is that the exams are more rigorous than past standardized tests. In addition, every 2 years, the passing standards for the tests are raised, which means students will have to do better to pass. The idea is that the exams will measure better how well prepared our students are to meet the challenges of college, starting even at the 3rd grade level. We have links to sample STAAR tests available on the STAAR page of our website so students and parents can have an idea of the knowledge and skills that are tested with STAAR. We encourage you to visit the site and browse through all the resources we have there. Students will still have a 4-hour time limit for each exam, except for those taking the high school English exams. Those students will have a 5-hour time limit. This is a kind of change that will help prepare students for college because most of the exams that they will take, like the SAT or ACT or even advanced placement tests, have a time limit. Another change that high school students will see this year is that the writing and reading portions of the English 1 and 2 exams will no longer be taken separately. Starting this year, reading and writing will be assessed in one exam given in one day, and students will receive a single score. To make it more flexible for students in the 2015 and 2016 graduating classes and to help with the transition into combined reading and writing exams, the minimum and cumulative score concepts will be maintained to determine if students who took English 1 and 2 exams met their graduation requirements for these exams. Students who took separate reading and writing exams before this year must meet 3 criteria. They have to pass either the reading or writing exam. They have to meet at least the minimum score on the other, and they must achieve a combined scale score of 3,750. This applies only to the end-of-course English 1 and 2 reading and writing assessments taken prior to this spring. Students who have not met this requirement by the spring 2014 administration would need to take and pass the redesigned exams to meet their English end-of-course testing requirements for graduation. For more information about these changes, visit our website at www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. Remember that the results of the STAAR test are taken into consideration for graduation in high school or promotion to the following grade in elementary and middle school. For example, in grades 5 and 8, students must pass the mathematics and reading STAAR exams to be promoted to the next grade level. Students can retake the STAAR test in the summer, and the Dallas ISD provides additional instruction during the beginning of the summer and before the summer administration of the test to help students be successful. While passing the STAAR is important, it is not the only requirement for promotion to the next grade level. We will also take into account the students' grades, the teacher's recommendation, and other criteria. This year, schools will once again be rated by the Texas Education Agency based on the results of STAAR. The ratings will be different from those used in previous assessments, but they will help parents identify what schools met the standard or required improvement. We realize that some of the requirements and details of the STAAR can be daunting for parents and for our students, but the Dallas ISD has been working diligently to prepare schools and students for these tests. The district has been providing additional tutoring for students who are struggling in certain subjects or who want to improve their performance. We also have tutorials in English and Spanish for those subjects on the District STAAR webpage. These sessions are a great resource, and we're looking forward to students taking advantage of the opportunity. For parents, we're offering additional information through the Prep University sessions scheduled for this week in several schools across the district. We encourage you to attend these sessions to learn more about the assessments and how you can help your children do well. You can find the schedule and location of the Prep University All-Star Week sessions at your child's school or by visiting the STAAR page at www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. We hope this brief overview has helped you understand the STAAR test a little better. Now, back to our panel of experts. Welcome back to our studio. We have many questions that we have received already, so we're now going to move to that portion of our program. Please don't forget to call us with questions at 972-925-3123. We have people standing by to take your questions in English and Spanish, so our panel of experts can answer them. You can also send in questions via the link on the live forum page of the website at www.dallasisd.org/liveforum. Bienvenidos de nuevo a nuestro estudio. Ya tenemos preguntas que nos han enviado, así que ahora pasaremos a esa porción de nuestro programa. Por favor, no se olvide llamarnos al 972-925-3123 si tiene alguna pregunta. Tenemos personas disponibles para tomar su llamada en inglés o en español para que nuestro panel de expertos pueda responder. También los quiero alentar a que manden sus preguntas a través del enlace que se encuentra en la página del foro en vivo www.dallasisd.org/live forum. Okay, so we'll move to our first question. We say that the STAAR exams are more rigorous than previous exams like the TAKS. What does that look like for students?
Yes, the STAAR is a lot more difficult. For example, in mathematics and in science, the STAAR has many more cognitively complex questions in which students have to go through multiple steps in order to solve it. It's usually given in an application context in which kids have to read a whole lot and think and problem solve through it.
Let me stop you because I think this is really good information to also share in Spanish. La pregunta fue que el examen STAAR es más riguroso que exámenes previos como el TAKS. Y la pregunta fue cómo pueden ver esta dificultad los estudiantes en el examen. Y Diri nos dijo que, por ejemplo, en matemáticas y en ciencias, los estudiantes tienen que responder a preguntas que son más complicadas, que tienen que pensar mucho más en la respuesta y que son preguntas que tienen que leer mucho más y tienen varios pasos. No son preguntas sencillas como lo eran en otros exámenes. ¿Alguien tiene, somebody has something else to add?
Well, in social studies, in the past, the skills were tested separately. With the STAAR, the process skills are now part of the content, so the students have to do a little more thinking in order to solve the question. The answer is not as blatant as some people may think. The students have to use those process skills, those thinking skills, to solve and complete whatever the answer that the question is asking. So for them, that's different than the test, the previous test was.
Por ejemplo, en ciencias sociales, las preguntas son complicadas en el sentido que la respuesta no es tan obvia como podría parecer. Los estudiantes realmente tienen que pensar y entender la pregunta para poder responder. Tienen que usar las destrezas que han estado aprendiendo de raciocinio crítico en las clases para poder contestar estas preguntas, que es algo que es nuevo para este examen.
Yes, even with the special education assessments, which are modified, the STAAR modified or the STAAR alt, that same rigor is a little bit more than was with the TAKS. Of course, it was modified and you know, adjustments are made, but you still have that rigor there.
Y aún en los exámenes que se tienen para los estudiantes que están en los programas de educación especial, los exámenes también tienen más rigor. Los exámenes STAAR Modified y STAAR Alternate también tienen más rigor y las preguntas son un poco más complejas que en el pasado, porque queremos que todos los estudiantes alcancen ese nivel de raciocinio crítico que queremos que obtengan, que sirve para la escuela y el resto de sus vidas. Anything else to?
In reading language arts, there's a wider variety of genres represented on the test, so students will have to be familiar with anything from fiction to poetry to expository passages. And in addition, the questions that the exam asks are more text dependent, so they have to be able to understand and comprehend the passage, then go back to the question, comprehend the question, and then be able to refer back to the text to draw out that evidence from the text to answer the question.
En el examen de lectura, por ejemplo, hay más géneros que se tienen que ver en el examen, por ejemplo, ficción, poesía y de exposición, textos de exposición. Entonces, ese es ese nivel de rigor. Además, los estudiantes tienen que leer el pasaje que tienen que sobre el cual las preguntas se hacen y comprenderlo muy bien. Después tienen que comprender muy bien la respuesta y regresar y escribir escribir su respuesta acerca del pasaje. Y eso es algo que ese es un nivel de rigor que requiere que tengan más destrezas para leer y escribir que que se pedían en los exámenes pasados.
One last thing to add is that there are going to be more items than it was in previous on the tax, so there's more items. And also it's in a 4-hour time period, which was never timed before. And the last thing, the curriculum never changed at the state level. It's the way we're testing them. We're testing the more readiness skills type of items as they have described, and not the supporting skills. And so that's why it also makes it more rigorous.
Otra de las maneras en que el examen es más riguroso, más difícil, es que hay más preguntas que había en exámenes pasados. Además de eso, hay un tiempo límite que no había en exámenes pasados, o sea, tienen 4 horas para completar el examen, cuando antes muchas veces tenían casi todo el día para completarlo y ahora no. Y además el currículo que se utiliza, ese no ha cambiado, sigue siendo el mismo que había hace 5 o 6 años, claro, con las diferencias que hay normalmente cada año, pero sigue siendo el mismo currículo. Lo que ha cambiado es la manera en que lo examinamos, la manera en que el examen determina si los estudiantes tienen esos conocimientos y destrezas que el currículo requiere que tengan. So, I heard the state has made some changes for 8th graders who take the Algebra 1 exam for high school credit. Last year, they didn't have to take the 8th grade math exam, but is that different this year?
Yes, it is. In Dallas ISD, this school year, students that are registered, an 8th grade student that is registered, is enrolled in an Algebra 1 class, will have to be taking the 8th grade mathematics STAAR in March, and then the Algebra 1 end of course exam in May. So the 8th grade student, again, enrolled in Algebra 1 will be double tested.
Okay. Así que los estudiantes que tomaron, el año pasado los estudiantes que tomaron el examen de Álgebra 1 en 8º grado para tener crédito de preparatoria, no tuvieron que tomar el examen en la secundaria, pero este año van a tener que tomar también el examen de matemáticas de 8º grado. Así que van a tomar 2 exámenes este año. And the Algebra 1 exam, they take it not at the same time as the 8th grade math exam, right?
Correct. The 8th grade math STAAR is in March, and then the Algebra 1 end of course is in May. That is correct.
Así que el examen de 8º grado de matemáticas es en marzo y el examen de Álgebra 1 para crédito para la preparatoria es en mayo. This is a question from Susan, who is watching us at home or one of the events, I'm not sure. But will the forum be available for viewing later? La pregunta es si el foro va a estar disponible para verse después. And yes, it will be available on the STAAR page of the district, www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. And right after this, we'll have the recording of the forum, and you can watch it at your leisure. Sí, va a estar disponible en la página de internet del distrito para el examen STAAR, www.dallasisd.org/STAAR. Inmediatamente después de que acabemos va a estar la grabación del foro para que todos lo puedan ver si se lo perdieron. Another question. We get a lot of questions about the modified exams or accommodations for students with special needs. How do I know if my child will be taking a modified exam or if my child will have accommodations?
Basically, we look at a student that's receiving special education services, and a committee meets, which consists of the parents of the student and the student, depending on the age, the teachers that are involved with that student, the special education teacher, administrators, and also other staff that are involved in providing services to the student. They make the determination based on the student's needs and their disability as to which assessment they would take. So they could take either one of three, either the regular STAAR, the STAAR modified, or the STAAR alternate, and that would be decided by the committee.
Hay un comité en la escuela que está, en el que participan los padres, el estudiante, los maestros, el liderazgo de la escuela y el Departamento de Educación Especial para determinar si el estudiante puede tomar el examen o necesita tomar el examen modificado, o si hay ayuda especial que necesita para tomar el examen. Y eso se hace a nivel de la escuela. Muchas veces se hace, generalmente se hace al principio cuando el estudiante se inscribe en la escuela o cuando se determina que tiene alguna necesidad especial durante el curso del año. Pero es algo que se determina antes del examen. So, what if my child is kind of new or comes in right before the exam, or if we I think that my child may have a special learning need.
Okay,
what happens then? Can we still get the modified exam?
Basically, it's handled on an individual basis, and you should start the proceedings right away by notifying your campus, the principal, and the teacher to discuss your concerns, and they will begin the process. It's, we don't know how long it will take, but it should get started right away.
It can be a long process.
Yes.
It's not something that takes a day.
Right. So you should get started right away.
Yeah. Si la pregunta fue si yo pienso que mi estudiante tal vez tenga alguna necesidad especial en este momento antes del examen, o acabo de llegar al distrito y no se ha hecho el diagnóstico todavía. Puedo pedir que mi estudiante tome el examen modificado, y la respuesta es sí, se puede hacer, pero es un proceso que es largo y complicado. Entonces se hace, y realmente es un proceso que se hace por cada caso, se ve cada caso y cada petición, y de ser posible sí se hace, pero recuerde que es un proceso que no tarda un día, es un proceso que podría tardar un buen tiempo en determinarse. Entonces, lo antes posible que se haga la petición, pero se tiene que hacer al nivel de la escuela. Así que si usted piensa que su hijo tal vez podría necesitar estos exámenes, hable con el director de su escuela. Why is the test being timed? That's a very popular question, because before, it wasn't. So why that change now?
Well, I don't know that it's a direct answer, but we do know that as students get into the higher grades and they're going to be taking tests for college like the ACT, SAT, they're all timed, and the students are needing to be able to organize their work and their thinking process in a timely manner. So we need the students to have the knowledge and demonstrate the knowledge in a time that instead of all day. That's the best I can answer at this point.
La pregunta fue por qué ahora hay un tiempo límite para tomar este examen, y la respuesta es que hay un tiempo límite porque conforme los estudiantes, no sabemos la respuesta exacta porque el Estado realmente decidió, pero posiblemente es que conforme los estudiantes van creciendo y pasando de año, al llegar a la preparatoria, tienen que tomar exámenes que para entrar a la universidad, que son todos tienen tiempo límite. Entonces, si los vamos acostumbrando desde ahora a que tienen que desempeñarse dentro de ese límite de tiempo, van a estar mejor preparados para cuando tengan que tomar esos otros exámenes.
Well, go ahead.
So most of the exams have a 4-hour time limit, but with the new English 1 and English 2 EOC, they have a 5-hour time limit. So that's new for this year. So what the state has done is they've done away with the separate reading and writing portions of the English 1 and English 2 end of course exam and combined it into one 5-hour exam. So that would be the only exam that has that longer time limit.
Y como vimos en el video, los únicos exámenes que van a tener un tiempo límite mayor que las 4 horas son los de inglés, son los de fin de curso, de inglés 1 e inglés 2 en preparatoria, que van a tener un tiempo límite de 5 horas. Y eso se debe a que combinaron los exámenes de redacción y de lectura en un examen. Entonces, por eso les están dando un poco más de tiempo para completarlo.
One of the accommodations that a student receiving special education services can receive if they meet the criteria is extended time, but that does not go past the end of the school day.
Nos dice Lewis que el examen, en los exámenes, una de las circunstancias especiales que tienen los estudiantes de educación especial es que tienen tiempo extra para completar el examen, pero este tiempo extra no sobrepasa el horario escolar, así que lo tienen que completar dentro de ese día en que se administra el examen.
I was going to say that that's actually a big worry for a lot of our English language learner student parents, for students who are new to the country and have not yet attained their English proficiency. Mm-hmm. And for those students, on certain cases, they are allowed similar accommodations where they can test until the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So sé que esa es una preocupación para nuestros papás de estudiantes que todavía no están superando el inglés, y en ciertos casos sí se les provee tiempo extra hasta el límite del fin del día en casos individuales.
Mm-hmm. Another question that came in from T.W. Brown, who are watching us, how is the grading scale calculated as it is not based on a percentage to determine if a student passed or failed the exam?
I think we're talking about the scale score, where this is done to pretty much standardize the testing from one year to the next, also to standardize the test from grade 3 all the way up to high school, and it is called a scale score. We have passing standards based on the scale score, and the scale score or the passing standard is also where you have the high school where you are ready to go into college, you're college ready, and then we align the test all the way down to 3rd grade. In this, we have 2 passing standards. The passing standard level 2 means that the students are generally ready for the next year. Level 3 or advanced is that they are ready for the next year and can meet the needs and demonstrate the skills and analysis that they need in the next grade. However, because it's such a change from the TAKS to the STAAR and it's really more rigorous, as we've talked about, the state has allowed us to kind of wait till we get to that recommended level 2. And so we're getting a buy for this year. We're in phase in 1. Next year we'll go into phase in 2, which is a lower cut score, a lower scale score needed to pass until we can get to that recommended, and our instruction is at that level because we cannot make that modification for students in 1 year. So they're giving us several years to make that adjustment in getting our kids ready.
Bueno, la pregunta fue, y voy a tratar de traducirla, pero tuvo muchas partes, así que la pregunta fue que ¿por qué no se califica el examen con un porcentaje como se hacía antes? ¿Cómo sabe uno si el estudiante aprobó o no aprobó el examen? Y la respuesta que nos proporcionó Cecilia fue que para poder medir cómo se desempeñan los estudiantes de una manera más, pues no sé, mejor o una manera más consistente a través de los años, es que ahora ya no hay porcentajes, sino que hay niveles de aprobación. El nivel 2, por ejemplo, es el nivel en que sabemos, como lo vio en el video, que los estudiantes aprobaron el examen o que poseen un dominio suficiente de los conocimientos y destrezas que necesitan para tener éxito en el año siguiente. Y la segunda parte de la respuesta fue que el examen es más riguroso también, de que tienen que porque tienen que llegar a un cierto nivel para demostrar ese dominio de los conocimientos y destrezas. Y el Estado nos ha dado varios años para poder llegar a ese estándar, y lo estamos haciendo paulatinamente, no todo de un golpe. Entonces, queremos que todos los estudiantes realmente se desempeñen al nivel 3, que es el nivel que nosotros le llamamos de preparación para la universidad. Did I miss anything? Great. This is a question in Spanish. Los niños que están en un magnet school, ¿van a tomar el examen STAAR el mismo que toman en las escuelas normales? The question is, the students who go to a magnet school, do they take the same STAAR exam as the students who go to a regular school?
Most definitely. Every student in Dallas ISD, depending on the grade, starting with grade 3 and up, will be taking the STAAR during the different times. Each grade has a different test combinations that we can talk about later or at this point. Okay.
Sí, definitivamente. Los estudiantes que están en las escuelas magnet van a tomar exactamente el mismo examen STAAR que los estudiantes que están en las escuelas regulares, y claro, dependiendo de la materia que se esté examinando. So my son has taken, I'm not sure what school this is from, but my son has taken the STAAR test English 1 and 2 3 times. And the first 3 times I was told he didn't do well on the essays. The last time he took it, I was told he did not meet the requirements because he didn't do well on the revisions and edits. When the STAAR test first came out, students were told all they need is to get a score to graduate. But now they have to pass all of them. And the ones passed don't count anymore. Why is that so?
That's a great question. So, spring 2014, the upcoming administration, is the first time when the combined EOC will be offered. And what the state has decided is that regardless of whether a student has failed either reading or writing, they will need to take the combined EOC at the end of this year. So the December 2013 administration was the last time when the separate reading and writing exams were offered. And if a student did not pass those, then they would have to take the combined test this spring.
Sí, el estudiante no, la pregunta fue que el estudiante de la persona que nos mandó la pregunta ha tomado el examen de inglés 1 y 2 3 veces, no lo ha logrado pasar porque no ha pasado ciertas partes del examen. Por ejemplo, la parte de redacción. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que se puede hacer? Y la respuesta que nos da CIMA es que a partir de ahora, los estudiantes que no han aprobado el examen de inglés 1 o inglés 2 tendrán que tomar el nuevo examen combinado. Is it going to be easier for them to pass it, or is it going to be more difficult?
Well, I mean, it is combining both of those areas, so they will need to pass. They will need to achieve a passing score based on their reading and writing components. The state is no longer breaking down the score into separate reading and writing subscores, so all students and parents will see is just the combined end of course score. So it's difficult to say whether it will be more difficult or not. I think it just depends on how the student is preparing and what the exam consists of.
No sabemos si va a ser más fácil o más difícil.
Was the second part about courses, the second part of that question on graduation? Some courses?
No, it's just, let me read it again.
It's that last part.
When the STAAR test first came out, students were told all they need to do is get a score to graduate. But now they have to pass all of them. And the ones passed don't count anymore. Why is that?
So 5 tests are counting towards graduation, and they still have to pass. And English 1, English 2 is still part of the 5 tests. If they took any of the upper level courses like geometry or algebra 2 and passed that test, they don't need it for graduation anymore. It was a change from the legislation that made the change and made the number of tests less rigorous, so we have less to graduate from them. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but
Well,
there
this
used to
is-
be 15 end of course exams, and now there's only 5. They're still very rigorous, though.
Yeah. And if from the first year, if I took some of the exams that are no longer part of the graduation requirements, I mean, it's great that we passed them. It's good, but if I didn't pass them, then I don't have to retake them.
And
Correct?
But you do know if you've mastered the subject or not.
Right. Yes.
Whether
Which
you
is
use
the
it-
important
yes.
thing. Yes.
Whether it's
I
for
mean,
graduation.
the point of passing the exam is not just to pass the exam, but it really tells
Exactly.
the parents and the student, well, and the teachers, obviously, that student knows everything that he or she needs to know to be successful in the subsequent grade. And because, knowledge is not, it's not in a vacuum. What you learn in one grade will build the foundation for what you need to learn in the next grade. And so it's very important that students know what they need to know, and that we're sure that they need to know, that they know it, because if they don't, then we can help them with gain that knowledge, because we
Exactly.
want them to be successful.
Exactly.
La traducción de todo esto es que había antes, cuando el STAAR apenas lo aprobaron, el primer año que lo tuvimos, había 15 exámenes de fin de curso que tenían que aprobar los estudiantes de preparatoria, pero al año siguiente la legislatura decidió que eran muchos exámenes y que mejor tenían que tener nada más 5 exámenes. Entonces, si los estudiantes tuvieron que tomar, porque hubo algunos estudiantes que tuvieron que tomar algunos de esos exámenes que ya no cuentan para la graduación, y si los pasaron, pues excelente, y si no los pasaron, pues no van a contar, pero sí es importante que los hayan pasado, y qué bueno que los hayan pasado, porque lo importante aquí no es que aprueben o no aprueben un examen. El aprobar el examen quiere decir que los estudiantes tienen el dominio de los conocimientos y las destrezas que aprendieron ese año. Y es importante que lo tengan, porque eso nos dice a nosotros en el distrito, a los padres y a los estudiantes mismos, que pueden entonces aprender lo del año siguiente, porque el conocimiento no se hace en un vacío. El conocimiento tiene una base y sigue aumentando. Entonces, si no tenemos la base en este año para poder aprender lo que vamos a aprender en el año siguiente, pues no vamos a tener éxito en el año siguiente, y todo eso se va acumulando. Entonces, estos exámenes nos dicen si el estudiante sí tiene esos conocimientos o si necesita ayuda adicional, y en el distrito estamos dispuestos a ofrecer esa ayuda adicional porque queremos que los estudiantes tengan éxito. As a parent, how can I help my kid prepare for the test? This is a question from Hawthorne Elementary. Cecilia?
Okay. I'd rather some of the content
Okay,
answer that.
well, maybe Barbara?
Okay, as a parent, by having your child read every day, at least 20 minutes a day, by questioning your child to see what he or she has learned that day at school, and if they're having difficulty to go and have a talk with the teacher and the principal at the school to see how you can help them even further at home. But there has to be that conversation at home about school and the importance of school and the importance of the test as well.
So even if you might not be helping them study for the exam, there are things
That you
can
can
do
say
just
and
to-
encourage your child to do well every day at school, that they should see school as their job and their responsibility, and this is an opportunity for them to learn and to get better at their craft.
Ileana, no sé si quisieras hablar acerca de qué es lo que pueden hacer los padres, sobre todo si los padres que tal vez no hablen inglés, tengan un dominio de inglés en español. ¿Qué es lo que ellos pueden hacer en la casa para apoyar a sus hijos para que tengan éxito en el examen?
Pues simplemente hablar de la escuela y que se involucren en la escuela, que vayan a hablar con los maestros, que vayan a las juntas de los padres. Con que ellos estén al tanto de la educación de sus hijos, están apoyando a sus hijos para poder aprobar estos exámenes. No necesariamente tienen que hablar inglés para ayudarles a sus hijos, para hacerles el tiempo, para que ellos puedan estudiar, para que les den los materiales que ellos pueden usar para poder mejorar su educación.
And this, sure.
No, I was going to say, one of the things we encourage our parents to do is to involve the student, their daily activities in their academic learning. If they're going to the store, ask questions about the prices of foods, and they're going to the restaurant, the tips, the percentages and things like that, things that they're interested in, tied in with their academics. Vocabulary, build their vocabulary as they're going down the street and they're looking at signs. What are the shapes of the signs, the stop sign, the yield sign? Those tie in with geometry. So these day-to-day activities can help build these children for their academic learning.
Que hay muchas actividades, algo de lo que le pedimos que a los padres que hagan es que las actividades diarias sean parte de la preparación educacional de los estudiantes. Por ejemplo, si van al supermercado y van a comprar los víveres para la casa, que utilicen esa oportunidad para hablar de los precios, hacer sumas o restas o multiplicación. Si van a un restaurante, que los niños, por ejemplo, ayuden a calcular la propina que se va a dar. Si van en el coche y van por la calle, que por ejemplo hablen de los anuncios que hay, que los lean, que digan qué forma tienen, todas esas cosas. Así que el aprendizaje puede ser algo diario, no tiene que ser una cosa especial, puede ser algo que se hace en casa durante el curso normal del día. From a parent at Hawthorne, they're sending a lot of questions. Thank you. What are and this is probably a question for Seema, what are the requirements for the writing exam? If a student does not finish testing within the time required, can they get an extension?
No, they wouldn't be able to get an extension. So the writing exam would consist of multiple choice questions that ask the students to read a passage and then answer the questions based on revising and editing standards. And then there's also an essay component to all of the writing exams. So the genre of the essay that they write varies from grade to grade. For example, in the 9th grade, in the English 1 EOC, they would have to write an expository essay. In the English 2 EOC, they have to write a persuasive essay. So it's a mix of prompt response and multiple choice questions.
But the point is that they do need to finish it.
They do need to finish it in the time
because
allotted.
they will grade only what was answered.
That's correct, yes.
So, Ileana, I don't know if you want to explain that in Spanish.
Estaba diciendo que los estudiantes tienen que terminar el examen, no se les puede dar tiempo adicional más allá de lo que se les está proveyendo. Depende también, como habíamos dicho, en casos individuos, tal vez hay veces donde los estudiantes sí tengan alguna facilidad para tener tiempo extra, pero eso no es garantizado y no es para cada estudiante. Incluso cuando estábamos hablando de cómo los padres pueden apoyar a sus hijos que practiquen la escritura en la casa, porque muchas veces los niños se cansan a escribir. So, si están escribiendo con más frecuencia, obviamente cuando llegue el tiempo del examen no se sienten tan estresados y están impuestos a estar escribiendo.
Y no tienen por qué escribir ensayos en casa,
no,
¿verdad? Pero ¿qué pueden hacer los padres para que sus hijos practiquen la redacción?
Pues muchos padres tratan de decirles a sus hijos que tengan un diario o algo así, algo divertido que pueden hacer como familia, donde también están incluyendo esa escritura y están hablando de eso en el hogar.
Bueno, cuando yo era chica escribíamos cartas, ¿no? A los parientes y amigos, pero ahora con la internet, entonces no tenemos la práctica esa de escribir cartas. So some of the things that parents can do at home to have their children practice, because it's important that when you do writing, in the test you have to write a lot, and if you get tired, then that may be what some of the obstacles are for students passing the test. So Ileana recommends that parents have their children practice writing at home, and some of the ways that they can do this practice writing is to keep a diary, something that's fun and interesting for the students to maintain, and that way it's not as difficult for them when they're taking the test. It's not such an overwhelming chore. If a student is ill, what is the process for retaking the test? Is there a process?
There is not. The student is sick, there is a make-up day during this whole week of testing. It's usually that Friday that they can make up the test. But if they miss that whole week in totality, they do not have an option to make it up. For grades 5 and 8, there will be another testing period that they can take it at that time. For the other grades, it will just be that they will not have a score for that grade and they will test the next year.
La respuesta, bueno, la pregunta fue, ¿qué es lo que pasa si mi hijo está enfermo el día del examen y no lo puede tomar? ¿Cuál es el proceso? Y la respuesta fue que en esa semana, el viernes suele ser el día en que se les da la oportunidad a los estudiantes que estuvieron enfermos el día del examen de tomarlo otra vez. Si están enfermos toda la semana y no lo toman ese viernes, entonces no lo van a poder volver a tomar ese examen, a menos que estén en el 5º o el 8º grado y van a tener la oportunidad de tomarlo en el verano para pasarlo, porque es necesario que que pasen los exámenes para poder pasar al siguiente nivel de grado. From a parent at T.W. Brown, again, Hawthorne and Brown are really calling them in. Thank you. How is the grading scale? There's still a question about how that is calculated. So there isn't really a grading scale. There's just levels. And how do parents know which level? I don't know if you can talk a little bit about the confidential report.
Each parent gets a confidential student report that provides you the information about how they did in comparison to where the level 2 or level 3 is. And it gives you all the different objectives of how each student did. If the number of items versus the scale score, there is a conversion chart if we're really interested in this on the TEA website to show how they line up. But because from one year to the next, the tests change a little bit and they want them to be equitable, they are the same rigorness. Sometimes the scale score is the raw score is one more item or one less item to get the same passing score. So it is not based on percentage or the number of items needed, but really how it aligns with the next year's test and previous year's test. It is part of an assessment criteria that we use to make sure the tests are standardized and are not more rigorous than the year before and are same and can be equitable.
Okay. This is from Susan. It was just said that the 8th grade math star is in March. I believe our parents were told that it was in April. Do all 8th graders take the STAAR test at the same time?
It is in March, right?
Well, it starts in March 31st. But it's the beginning of April.
It's April 1st.
April 1st for the regular STAAR 8th grade. I think the 31st is the STAAR AM.
Mm-hmm. And this might be a good time to tell parents that we have a calendar for the testing, for the STAAR testing, that's available on the STAAR website of the district, and you can look at all the dates where tests are being given and what tests are being given that particular day. So you'll have a good idea of which test your child will be taking that particular day. And the testing period does start March 31st, but it goes through May, right? And so it's a pretty wide time period there, pretty long. So make sure you check out the calendar. Los padres pueden, ahí tenemos un calendario donde tenemos todas las fechas en que se van a dar los exámenes y qué exámenes se van a tener en qué fecha. Y a lo mejor es bueno que ustedes pueden ir a la página de internet de STAAR del distrito que le hemos estado dando durante el foro, para que vean este calendario. Está en un formato PDF que lo pueden imprimir, lo pueden poner en el refrigerador en la casa para ver todos los días qué examen, porque es un periodo largo en que se van a tener estos exámenes. Empiezan el 31 de marzo y van hasta mayo, entonces es bueno que sepan qué fechas vamos a examinar. ¿Cómo ayuda el distrito a los estudiantes bilingües a tomar los exámenes STAAR, ya que después del 5º los exámenes son en inglés?
Okay, y esta pregunta sí la agarramos muchas veces. Básicamente hay un comité que puede hacer decisiones para esos estudiantes que todavía no están a nivel de inglés para tomar el examen completamente en inglés. Esos estudiantes son casos individuos, pero se les puede proveer o tiempo adicional o diccionarios de varios tipos. Eso sería en casos individuos y esa decisión está hecha por maestros y administradores en las escuelas.
Okay.
Do you want to ask it in English?
Well, no, because really it just applies to bilingual students, but thank you. This is from a parent at Griner Middle School, where we also have a watching event. Is there going to be a practice test at school, or is there one that they can practice with at home?
There are no practice tests, but a lot of the campuses do a lot of assessments, and our ACPs that we've done at the mid-year are STAAR-like tests. They have the same format, they have the same rigor, and so they've experienced that in December when they took the ACPs. So they have some practice already in that, but I think a lot of it's the teachers that provide additional assessments during the school day.
The Ready to STAAR.
Oh, right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we also have the Ready to STAAR exams for schools, and those are available for them to use. And those use many of the same question stems that students will see on the STAAR, and schools have the option of administering them during this time of year.
Parents have access to the release tests from last year
Oh, yeah.
that are
I
on
was gonna
TAA
say, right.
website, so they can go in and look at last year's tests and get an idea of how the layout is.
And we actually have them on our website too,
Right.
so they can go to our STAAR website and download those tests. And you know, they can practice with those with their children. And I mean, it'll be obviously different tests,
Right.
but they'll get a good idea of the kind of rigor that we've been talking about. And it's sometimes sobering. So, la pregunta fue que si el distrito ha estado practicando con los estudiantes, tiene estos exámenes para que los estudiantes practiquen, o si hay exámenes que los padres pueden usar en casa con sus hijos para practicar. Y la respuesta es que no necesariamente, pero sí los maestros han estado trabajando con los estudiantes para practicar en para los exámenes. No necesariamente con las preguntas exactas del examen, pero sí la manera en que se toma el examen, porque eso es algo que muchas veces los estudiantes tienen los conocimientos, pero el examen en sí es lo que es complicado. Entonces están practicando eso. Tienen exámenes que se llaman práctica de STAAR, que tienen no las mismas preguntas, pero el mismo tipo de preguntas que los estudiantes van a encontrar en el examen. Y además nos comenta Luis que tenemos los exámenes que el Texas Education Agency nos dio de años pasados, que están en nuestra página de internet. Hay exámenes en inglés y en español. Obviamente en español son para primaria, porque no hay exámenes en español para secundaria y preparatoria. Pero los pueden ver, y realmente les recomiendo que lo hagan, que vayan a nuestra página y vean esos exámenes, porque son... es muy revelador el poder ver esos exámenes, y van a ver realmente lo del rigor y la dificultad que estamos hablando, lo van a poder ver ustedes mismos. The STAAR test, how does it affect special education students regarding graduation?
Basically, they're similar to the graduation requirements of a general education student. However, the art committee will have can be involved in the decision if the student is not successful on the test. They can come in and they can look at the student's work in the classroom and also the assessment results, and they can decide whether the student will graduate or not. So they do have an impact on that, in addition to the results on the STAAR test.
La pregunta fue ¿qué efecto tienen los exámenes STAAR en la graduación de los estudiantes que están en el programa de educación especial? Y la respuesta que nos brinda Luis es que sí afectan en la graduación de los estudiantes, aunque también se van expertos del Departamento de Educación Especial, observan a los estudiantes. Hay varios otros requisitos que se pueden tomar en cuenta para ver si el estudiante se puede graduar o no solamente el examen STAAR. And that's kind of also, I mean, they have to pass STAAR to graduate, just in general, students. But that's not the only thing they need to do to graduate, right? They have to also pass their classes.
That's
correct.
That's right.
So, así que es muy importante que sepan que no nada más con pasar el examen STAAR se van a graduar los estudiantes. Obviamente hay otros requisitos y uno de ellos es que aprueben las clases que están tomando. Así que hay que concentrarse no nada más en el examen, sino en la vida académica de sus hijos en general. This is a question from Ms. Williams from Miller Elementary School. Do students need to pass the STAAR to move to the next grade level?
At grades 5 and 8, reading and mathematics, they do need to pass that STAAR in order to pass to the next grade level. They are given multiple opportunities, like for example, it's the first week, that March 31st week, which comes into the April, they start taking the math and the reading exams then. If they do not pass, and we're talking about grades 5 and 8 mathematics and reading, they are given another opportunity in May. And then and of course the campus, the teachers, we're supposed to be providing intervention pieces for the students, tutorials before school, after school, Saturdays. And let's say that in May they did not pass that second administration in grades 5 and 8, mathematics and reading, then we do have 8 days prior to that June 3rd administration in which kids can go to tutorials that the district is providing for them.
Y la respuesta es que sí, en los grados quinto y octavo tienen que aprobar el examen para poder pasar al siguiente grado. Eso significa que si no lo pasan en esta primavera, va a haber una oportunidad en el verano para que lo vuelvan a tomar y esperemos pasarlo. Vamos a tener en el verano 2 semanas al principio de tutoría especial para los estudiantes que no aprobaron el STAAR, para que realmente nos concentremos en ayudarlos a que adquieran los conocimientos y destrezas que necesitan para pasar el examen, porque sí es importante que lo pasen para el siguiente año. Y desafortunadamente tenemos muchas preguntas, muchísimas gracias, pero no, estamos cortos de tiempo, así que las preguntas que nos mandaron las vamos a poner con respuestas en nuestra lista de preguntas frecuentes que tenemos en la página de internet. So we are unfortunately running out of time. So those were excellent questions, and I would like to thank the panel for their thoughtful answers and our audience for participating. Quiero nuevamente agradecerles por las excelentes respuestas a nuestra audiencia y las preguntas a nuestra audiencia. Like I said, Dallas ISD has put together a web page that includes multiple STAAR resources. We've covered a few of them during the forum for parents and students. The resources include videos, links to other websites, and calendar dates. The Teaching and Learning Department has compiled a list of tutorial videos for previously hard-to-master concepts. Students and parents can select the concept and watch a video that has been reviewed by the respective department. Also, the district has the webpage that includes the frequently asked questions from this and questions from this forum will be added to that list. Anything that we didn't get a chance to answer, we will make sure we add it there and have answers for you. Students can also look at practice questions and the tests that have been released by the TEA. No olvide que en nuestra página de internet tenemos varios recursos disponibles como videos y ejemplos del examen STAAR. Now we would like to ask Barbara Thomas to share with us some tips that parents use to support their children success in the new test.
Parents play a major role in ensuring that students are prepared for the test. And we want to give you some suggestions of things that you can do at home so your child is successful. Parents play a major role in ensuring that students are prepared for the test. And we wanted to give you some suggestions of things that you can do at home so your child is successful. Add a few minutes of reading time to each day in the days or ideally weeks leading up to the test. Talk to your child's teacher to see if there are areas that need additional attention. Find out if the school is offering additional tutoring. Encourage your child by letting them know they will do well on the test. Make sure they have their uniform or clothes for the next day ready the night before the test, along with books and backpacks. Make sure your child goes to bed early the night before the test so he or she is well rested. Make sure that he or she eats a nutritious breakfast at home or at school on the day of the test. Get to school on time or a few minutes early to make sure your child is relaxed and ready to take the test. Children who are rested and well fed will have the ability to concentrate, which will increase their confidence and raise their chances of a successful completion of the exam.
Thank you, Barbara. Don't forget that we have several All-Star Prep University sessions this week and one on February 19th. And we will have another All-Star week of sessions from March 24th to 27th. If you need more information about these sessions, check our website at www.dallasisd.org/star. No se olvide que tenemos varios talleres All-Star para padres de Prep University esta semana y otro el 19 de febrero. Además de que tendremos una semana de talleres del 24 al 27 de marzo. Si necesita más información acerca de estos talleres, visite nuestra página de internet en www.dallasisd.org/star. On behalf of everyone at the Dallas ISD and the panel of experts, I would like to thank everybody watching us for their questions and participation. This forum will be available on our webpage at www.dallasisd.org/star. Este foro estará disponible en nuestra página de internet www.dallasisd.org/star. Thank you again for your participation and have a good day. Espero que tengan un buen día y muchas gracias por su participación.